Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in, amma ba'd. Should the Maliki recite the Basmallah? Mura'atun lil khilaf, right, to account for the differences of opinion, especially with the likes of the Shafi'iyah, for example. And, okay, so this, firstly, we have to understand what the ruling is in the Maliki school, right? And there might be even more to consider, but we know that it's makruh to recite the Basmallah in the fard prayer, and it's permissible generally in the sunnah prayers, even though it might probably be yani khilaf al-awla, depending if you take khilaf al-awla. But anyway, that's a whole other discussion. So we know that Imam Malik didn't believe the Basmallah to be didn't believe the Basmallah to be any part of the Quran, right? Not an ayah Fatiha or any other surah. And this is contrary to Imam Shafi believes that it's an ayah of every chapter. The Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Ahmad did believe it was a separator. So you have the different madhahib, and we know that the Hanafi and the Hanabi, they recite it silently, and the Shafi'i, they recite it out loud in the prayers that are out loud, the units that are out loud, and they recite it silently in the silent rak'at. But the Maliki, they never recite it, right? That's the mashhur. It's makruh to recite it in the fard, and even it's permissible technically in the sunnah, but really, it's khilaf al-awla to do it. It's suboptimal. It's not because Imam Malik didn't believe it to be a part of the Quran. And obviously I have to get into the proofs, but the biggest proofs is that there's khilaf in it being an ayah, right? And you can't have khilaf about the Quran. But anyway, so now, so you're leading the prayer. Someone is leading the prayer, and you have Shafi'iyah possibly, or whatever it might be. So you want to account for those types of people. Inshallah, Sunni that are following a valid method, the Shafi'i school. But you have to understand that they believe it to be fard to recite it, and we don't believe it to be a part of the Quran, and it's makruh to recite. So are we really even accounting for them, right? Especially if we were going to recite it, I don't see how we would recite it out loud anyway, right? You recite it silently, and they would probably question if you recited it anyway, and maybe it would be a problem for them. I'm not sure, but this, and many are going to say, many Malikis have said that to recite it silently, muratun al-khilaf, especially for the Shafi'iyah, right? First, you understand that the muratun al-khilaf, this usuli principle, firstly, there's khilaf in it that actually is a principle of Imam Malik, because he took it sometimes he didn't. So, and then if you do affirm it, right, then there are rules and conditions on how to accept this, right? But the basic rule is you're not forced to follow any other school, right? I mean, all the schools are going to agree on the principle, khuruj min al-khilaf mustahab. But we actually, in the Maliki school, there's actually a principle. What most are going to affirm it to be a principle, muratun al-khilaf, an actual usuli principle, right? Not even like a fiqh maxim or anything, like an actual usuli principle. So yes, many have said to recite it again, but also to consider, do you want to recite a makruh, right? Something, because makruh is something that's not permissible to do. It's not permissible to do, right? In order to account for others, when you're not even really accounting for them, because they have different rules anyway. So anyway, I mean, we're not saying one side is right, one side is wrong. It's just things to consider, because it becomes kind of this hot topic amongst many. But so some might say to recite it, muratun khilaf, and others actually might say, don't, and you don't need to, right? Because you're following your own method, they follow their own madhab, and the general rule is as well that that your prayer is valid behind any of the four schools, right? The Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi, and Hanbali, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.